Elena Vasquez pushed her cleaning cart down the hallway of Sterling Tower at 6 a.m. It's like she had every morning for the past 3 years. At 52, she'd been cleaning office buildings since she came to the country at 20, supporting her 2 children through school on a housekeeper's wages. The executive floor was always empty this early, which Elena preferred. She could clean in peace, listening to audiobooks through her earbuds, mostly business books from the library. She'd never been able to afford college, but she loved learning. As she entered the main conference room, she noticed something unusual. Papers were scattered across the long table, and a man sat alone at the head, staring at a document. He wore an expensive gray suit and looked to be in his mid-30s, his dark hair slightly disheveled, as if he'd been running his hands through it. "I'm so sorry," Elena said, backing toward the door. "I didn't know anyone was here. I'll come back later." The man looked up, startled. "No, it's fine. I've been here all night, just trying to understand this contract before I sign it this morning." He rubbed his eyes. "Please, go ahead and clean. I won't be in your way." Lena nodded and began emptying the trash bins. But as she worked, she couldn't help but notice the man's frustration. He kept reading the same pages over and over, sighing heavily. "Is everything okay, sir?" Elena asked, then immediately regretted it. It wasn't her place to ask executives about their business, but the man smiled wearily, just trying to make sense of legal jargon. "This is the biggest deal of my career, and I feel like I'm missing something important, but I can't figure out what." Lena hesitated. "What kind of deal?" "A merger. My company is combining with a competitor. Should be worth about $500 million. He gestured to the thick stack of papers. "But I've read this contract 10 times, and something feels off." "Have your lawyers reviewed it?" 3 different firms. "They all say it's fine, that I'm just being paranoid." "Kay," he looked at Elena. "Kay, Ethan Sterling, by the way. I own this building, Elena Vasquez. I cleaned this building. Nice to meet you, Elena. Sorry you're seeing me at my worst." Lena smiled. "I've seen worse. Last week, I cleaned up after the sales team's celebration. That was definitely your worst." Ethan laughed a real laugh that seemed to release some of his tension. "Fair point." Elena continued cleaning, but she couldn't stop thinking about Ethan's problem. She'd been listening to a business law audiobook just last week that discussed merger contracts. As she wiped down the windows, something occurred to her. "Mr. Sterling, can I ask you something?" "Please, call me Ethan. And yes, ask away." "In your merger contract, is there a clause about asset valuation timing?" Ethan looked surprised. "Yes, actually. The assets are valued as of the date of signing." "Why? And is there a clause about assuming liabilities?" "Yes, standard stuff according to my lawyers. We each assume our own liabilities as of the merger date." Lena set down her cleaning supplies and approached the table. "May I?" She pointed at the contract. Ethan slid it toward her, curiosity evident on his face. Elena flipped through the pages, her brow furrowed. She'd been reading business contracts in her audiobooks for months, fascinated by how they worked. "Here," she said, pointing to a section. "This clause says asset valuation happens at signing. And this clause says each party assumes their own liabilities as of merger date. But look at this third clause buried in section 12. It says the merger date is actually 60 days after signing." Ethan leaned forward, reading carefully. "I don't understand. What does that mean?" "It means for 60 days after you sign, you own your assets, but they own your liabilities. If anything bad happens to your company in those 60 days, you bear all the losses, but the assets have already been valued and locked in. It's a gap, a window, where they're protected, but you're exposed." Ethan's face went pale. "Oh my God. That means if there's any lawsuit, any economic downturn, any problem at all in those 60 days, ... you take the hit, but they get the company at the pre-agreed value. They have zero risk, and you have all of it." Ethan started flipping through the contract frantically. How did I miss this? How did 3 law firms miss this? because it's in 3 different sections. No single clause sounds bad, but when you put them together, Lena shrugged. It's a trap. Ethan stared at her. Who are you really? Because you're not just a cleaning lady. Alina smiled sadly. I'm exactly a cleaning lady, but I listen to business audiobooks while I work. I wanted to understand the world my children would work in. I wanted to help them when they had questions about their business classes. Your children are in college. My daughter just graduated with an MBA. My son is finishing his accounting degree. I'm very proud of them, as you should be. Ethan stood and extended his hand. Alina, you just saved me from potentially losing everything. That contract signing is in 3 hours. If I'd signed it and anything had gone wrong in those 60 days, I'd have been ruined. I'm just glad I could help. No, you don't understand. You caught something that 3 law firms missed. That's not luck. That's intelligence and observation. Ethan pulled out his phone. I'm calling my lawyers now. And then I'm calling the other CEO to tell him the deal is off unless we revise these clauses. Over the next few hours, Alina watched as Ethan's team of lawyers arrived, studied the contract, and realized she was right. The clauses, when combined, created a massive exposure for Ethan's company. By lunchtime, the other company had reluctantly agreed to revise the contract to close the gap. As Alina prepared to finish her shift, Ethan found her in the hallway. Alina, I need to thank you properly. You saved me approximately $500 million today. What can I give you? Name it a bonus, a new car, a house. Alina held up her hand. I don't want your money, Mr. Sterling. I did what anyone should do. I helped when I saw a problem. But however, Alina interrupted with a small smile. My daughter is looking for a job. She has her MBA, but can't get interviews because she has no connections. And my son will graduate next year with his accounting degree. If you could help them get started in their careers, that would mean more to me than any amount of money. Ethan's eyes widened. Done. No, better than done. I'm creating positions for both of them in my company. Your daughter can start in our strategy department immediately, and your son has an internship and job waiting for him when he graduates. You don't have to do that. I'm not doing it out of obligation. I'm doing it because if your children have even a fraction of your intelligence and integrity, they'll be assets to my company. Ethan paused. And Alina, I want to offer you a position too. Mr. Sterling, I'm a cleaning lady. You're someone who sees what others miss. Someone who understands complex concepts and can explain them clearly. I want to create a position for you in our quality assurance department. You'd review contracts, processes, documentations, looking for the gaps and traps that everyone else misses. Alina felt tears prick her eyes. I don't have a degree. You have something better, real intelligence, practical experience, and the ability to learn. The position is yours if you want it. $75,000 a year to start, with full benefits and tuition reimbursement if you decide you want to pursue a degree. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Let me turn your gift for seeing what others miss into a career that benefits both of us. Alina looked at this young man who'd been desperate and frustrated just hours ago, and who now was offering her and her children's opportunities that seemed impossible this morning. Yes, she said quietly. Yes, I'll take the position. Thank you. 2 years later, Alina sat in a conference room as the head of Sterling Industries' contract review department. Her daughter Sarah worked 2 floors up in strategy, and her son Miguel had just accepted a full-time position in accounting after a stellar internship. Ethan stopped by Elena's office that afternoon. I need you to review this acquisition contract. My lawyers say it's clean, but I've learned to always run it by you first. Lena smiled and took the document. I'll have notes for you by tomorrow. You know, Ethan said, that cleaning lady who corrected my contract 2 years ago saved my company. But the department head I promoted her to has saved me about 15 times since then. Best hire I ever made. I'm just doing my job. No, Alina, you're doing what you've always done, seeing what others miss and having the courage to speak up. That's not just a job skill. That's character. After Ethan left, Lena looked around her office at her business degree hanging on the wall, earned through the company's tuition program, at the photos of her children at their graduations, at the contract she was about to review. She thought about the early morning 2 years ago when she'd almost been too intimidated to speak up, too worried about overstepping her place. If she'd stayed quiet, Ethan would have lost everything. But more than that, she and her children would have missed the opportunity that changed all their lives. Sometimes, the most important voice in the room belongs to the person everyone else overlooks. Sometimes, intelligence has nothing to do with degrees. If this story touched your heart, please like and share it. Subscribe for more stories about recognizing value in unexpected places. Leave a comment about a time when someone surprised you with their knowledge or insight. Your stories inspire us all.